How to rebuild your credit fast in 2023. So the ultimate has happened. You've let everything slide. Maybe it was because of COVID. Maybe it was because you lost a job and were unemployed for some time. Everybody has their reason as to why their credit went to the wayside. But I do know one thing, that the reasoning has always come because that person has had to make the ultimate sacrifice and let their credit go so that they can provide for their family. It's not like most people just were irresponsible. They had to make the ultimate sacrifice. In this video, I'm going to show you how to rebuild your credit fast. In this video, we'll discuss steps you can take to immediately begin to rebuild your credit within 30 to 45 days. Next, we'll discuss common do's and don'ts when it comes to reestablishing your credit. Then, I'll finish off with suggestions that are going to help you really ramp up your credit score. Okay, to begin this conversation, I want to discuss kind of the first step in rebuilding your credit. The first step is going to be to know what's on your credit report. So many people fail to manage their credit. The reality is that you need to manage your credit just like you would manage a bank account, just like you would manage a credit card, just like you would manage your auto loan payment. It needs to be looked at every single month. You need to make sure that you understand why your scores are moving up and down. And what you're going to need is you're not going to be able to just go with a simple service like Credit Karma. The reason is because Credit Karma doesn't have all three bureaus listed. What you need is credit monitoring with a system that will put all three credit bureaus on one report so you can see what's happening with each one of your accounts and also be provided scores. Now, unfortunately, that's not going to come in the way of free service. What we use for my company and all of my clients is going to be a service called Smart Credit. Smart Credit allows you to do all kinds of amazing things. It allows you not only to see your credit on all three of the reports on one simple report, your scores, which are also highly important, but it also allows you to manage your money. It has a way for you to add in all of your accounts, to budget, simulations to understand that if you took certain actions, how that would impact your credit score. It also has $1 million worth of identity theft insurance, which I think is important for anybody, and all kinds of other features. If you click in the link in the description, we're offering a subscription to Smart Credit. It only costs you $1 for the first 7 days. Okay, now once you have a subscription to a service that allows you to see all three of your credit reports, then you're going to go through each one of your accounts and you're going to identify accounts that you understand that may or may not be legitimate as far as you are concerned. Understand that the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is consumer legislation that's designed to protect you, allows you to question anything on your credit profile. And the reality is that you probably wouldn't know what a lot of the collections and whatnot are on your credit report. They're listed as separate companies that you're probably not going to recognize. Again, it's within your right to not only dispute that, but question it, not only with the original creditor, but the collection agency and also all three bureaus. So you're going to go through all of your credit report. If you don't recognize an account, you should definitely dispute it. If you don't recognize when an account went into negative status, you should definitely dispute that. If you don't recognize payment history or balances, if you see inaccuracies between the three different credit bureaus, in other words, Experian is saying this account was opened on this date, TransUnion was saying it was open on a different date, those are all reasons why you should absolutely go after that negative information. Okay, now I know every YouTuber always asks you to like and subscribe to their content, and I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. And the reason is because the YouTube algorithm requires that you like and subscribe to my channel, and if possible, leave a comment in the comment section. It's going to help me grow my channel. As many of you know, I have a newer channel and I'm trying to grow it out. Okay, so now that you have got your Tri-Merge report, you've gone through everything in detail and made sure that there's no inaccuracies. Everything's completely verifiable. Nothing is questionable. Now you're going to be stuck with what's left on your credit profile. Your very next step is going to be to reestablish credit if you haven't already done so. Now, in terms of credit mix, the credit scoring algorithm is looking for a specific credit mix once you rebuild. And that's going to be at least one installment loan and 2, sometimes 3 credit cards, depending upon the way that your credit profile looks. Now, everybody's got an installment loan just about, right? We've got our student loans, we've got our auto loans, we've got some type of installment loan, so that's usually intact. The credit cards are where we tend to run into deficiencies. So you need at least one credit card. There's many different options out there, many different credit builder credit cards that don't even run your credit in order to establish an account that will report as a revolving account or credit card on your credit profile. A lot of people are like, I can't get a credit card. Well, there's several out there that don't even pull your credit, but still list as a revolving account. One mistake I can tell you that I see clients make all the time is that they reestablish their credit, but they go overboard. Now remember, on the personal credit side of things, which is highly different than the business credit side of things, the scoring algorithm is going to penalize you heavily if you build your credit too quickly. So what I recommend is you get one revolving account initially, wait at least 2 months, and then get a second one. If you're going to add a third one, and it makes sense to do that on your specific credit profile, I'm going to recommend that you wait several months after that. And what I see a lot of clients do is they go through and they're like, I'm going to reestablish credit, so I'm going to get 5 different credit cards, 3 secured, 3 are not secured. And the problem with that is that you decrease your average age of accounts, which is a big metric within the scoring algorithm. So it makes your credit profile look like you've got all this new credit and you don't have any history to substantiate that. That puts you in a very high risk category. So don't go overboard. The next thing that I want to talk about when it comes to your credit cards and credit mix is that there is a specific credit utilization or ratio of what you spend compared to what your balance is. And most people understand that if they max out their credit cards every month that they're going to take a hit on their credit score. But the reality is that you can kind of spend whatever you want to spend as long as before your next purchase your metrics are correct. And the proper metric for a credit card is you want to stay under 30%. That's the second best tier of the limit. The first best tier is going to be under 9%. So the reality is you can spend whatever you want on your credit cards. It doesn't really matter. Your scores will rebound once you pay it down. So before you go to get another credit card, before you go to make any other type of purchase where they're going to run your credit, make sure that your metrics are correct. Another thing that I want to talk about is this myth that you should never settle debt. I disagree with that. In fact, we guide our clients to settle debt all the time. If the debt is legal, it has no inaccuracies, it's completely verifiable, and it doesn't have any errors on it. In other words, it's legitimate legal debt. In some cases, it does make sense to settle. As an example, if you go through and you have collections that are legitimate, let's say you have 1 or 2 collections on your credit profile, and they're within your budget to settle, in other words, you can afford to settle them, then why not ask for a 40 to 60% settlement on the item, and then once it's been paid and updated with the credit bureaus, then you can go through and you can dispute that item again, and a lot of times the collection agency will actually take that off of your credit. Now, if it's a medical collection, just settling it in and of itself will guarantee removal. Last year, the law was changed so that all medical collections that are settled, which means it doesn't matter how low you settle it for, as long as that balance hits 0, the credit bureaus are going to remove it from your credit profile. That law was enacted last year. Now that's for collections. Now what about charge-offs? What about that old Capital One account that didn't get paid, charged off a couple years ago during COVID? Should you settle that? Well, it really just depends. Understand that, and you're not going to like this information because a lot of people pretend like it's something different than what it is. The reality is even if you can't get the old item off of your credit, having debt that's not outstanding is going to put you in a risk area that's going to be significantly less than somebody who has outstanding debt that was never paid. In other words, settling stuff does make sense depending upon if it's within your budget. Many times creditors are going to deny you just because you have that Capital One bank card that was charged off years ago that was never paid. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is going to be budgeting. After you've cleaned up your credit, you've rebuilt, you've reestablished, you've settled as much as your budget will allow, now you're at sum 0, right? Most likely just taking those steps actually is going to put you within qualification of a mortgage. Believe it or not, that's actually the way it works. Many of our clients are trying to buy a home, and just doing the things that I mentioned usually will get them into the qualification area where we can find a lender that will actually get them funded. Now, as far as your budget is concerned, you should actually create a budget. It's astounding to me how many people don't actually have a budget. They're not listing what their bills are, how much money they're bringing in, what their disposable income looks like. And by disposable income, I mean your money that you're bringing in minus the money that's going out, how much is left at the end of the month. You should be budgeting every single month. Budgeting is critical. Once you've got your credit rebuilt and reestablished, you're only going to go up from there. If you don't budget properly, you're not going to know how well you're doing each month. Very important, and very few people do it. So I'm going to recommend that you put budget as a top priority. If you have credit challenges or need help with your credit, or maybe just want to complete an analysis so that we can have that discussion so that I can guide you in the right direction, I do recommend that you click on the link in the description below. Add yourself to our system. We'll provide a complimentary credit analysis for you. The only caveat is that you need to sign up for Smart Credit so that we have the data we need to complete the complimentary credit analysis.